It's not a bird, it's not a plane, it's Superhero Slate. It's a weekly podcast where we talk about everything that's great. Like movies, TV, superheroes. It's Superhero Slate. Oh, yeah.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Superhero Slate, the show where we run down the latest superhero entertainment news.
We love movies, TVs, and superheroes, so let's talk it all out.
My name is Chris.
God.
And Mike is
My name's
freestyling.
Mike.
Yeah, Mike is freestyling over here. Yeah, all right,
I'm out
buddy?
of practice.
Yeah.
I've been gone for 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, 3 weeks, wasn't it? Like we took last week. You were off. The week before, we were on vacation. So it's really been like almost a month for you at this point.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the statement's not wrong.
Yeah.
We talk about TVs as a unit to watch the things all the time.
Right. It's true. But you know, I've literally told someone, Brian, who was the host last week. Thank you, Brian, if you're listening. I've literally copied and pasted this intro for the show since we started the show. This is the same text over and over again, and Mike he's freestyling now, so we're going with it. But this week, Netflix throws some shade at the old Marvel television regime, if you will. They're far enough away. Marvel's got their Daredevil now. Netflix had their Daredevil. It's the same one, apparently. We'll talk about that. Spider-Man 4 starts to get some villain rumors, Mike. I might also have you pull up last week's notes to see if there's any topics you wanted to cover, because like there was casting for Spider-Man 4 we talked about, so we can bring that up at that bullet point. We get to see the first look at Mortal Kombat 2, which I am very excited for because I grew up Mortal Kombat. It was like the one video game that went with me everywhere and more.
Well, I mean, speaking of Marvel TV and shade being thrown around, I feel like I've been throwing shade at you like every single week.
Yep.
Every weekend, just before we prep the show, just asking you, have you finished Daredevil yet? Are you caught up yet? Oh, where are you at? It's always no.
Yeah,
no,
I'm behind.
No.
I am very behind. You are not the only person to ask me this. I get accosted between Thursdays and Saturdays about Daredevil, and I am behind. And my goal this week is to get caught up. Next week we will be caught up 100% because my schedule is clear. We've got everything that I thought. The snow globe's been shaken, as I would say, but everything's settled, so I can actually get caught up with Daredevil by next week, Mike. So I promise by next week we will have it's like a mid-season thing next week, right? Because like 8 or 9 episodes.
I don't know. Maybe it could be. I've lost track of just streaming show length in general with any of the shows that I've been watching. It's been a hot week here in our household because the Severance season 2 finale just wrapped on Thursday. This week, on Thursday, the Reacher season 3 finale will be wrapping. The Pit, which is this amazing medical drama that I don't know if I soundboarded on the show yet, but if I haven't, again, go watch The Pit on Max. It's so good. Like, even if you're not like a medical drama like person, it's just like really, really good television. And this first season is supposed to be 16 episodes, and I think they're like on episode 12-ish.
It's in a legal battle. I don't know if it's going to get a season 2 at this point. But
well, I think if it'll just come down to probably just paying off the Crichton estate or whatever. Or who knows? Maybe they'll even go to court. This show is too good to not get a second season, and they are doing an arc right now. Like, it's probably going to be a 2 or 3 episode arc. That is probably going to win Emmys, and it just kicked off on Thursday. So, like, there's some really good TV watching, including Daredevil, happening in our house.
I would say
now.
I would
So
agree
we
with
are
you.
Excited for the baby to go to sleep every night so we can watch this stuff.
I would agree with you if Warner Brothers was run by a normal person who wasn't like gutting TV shows. But Coyote versus
Zaslav is. If Zaslav is truly as dirty as we think he is, maybe he'll do some underhanded things to get us a second season.
I don't think he will. I don't think he gives a shit about anything except stuff like that. But they did sell. We don't have it in our notes, but they did sell Coyote versus Acme to another company, which will release it.
Yeah,
so.
A company I had to Google called Ketchup Entertainment. I was like, wait, is this a joke? And then I guess Ketchup Entertainment was the studio that was involved with the most recent, the day the Earth blew up, the 2D animated Looney Tunes feature. That somehow got a theatrical release. I'm not throwing shade at it. I'm just surprised because it feels like this was a 2D animated feature that hit the big screen, and like nobody was talking about like this is the first time this has like really happened from a major studio in like decades. What like maybe like Princess and the Frog was like the last like real like 2D animated movie in theaters. It's wild.
It was this by 2D you mean like flat animation, like
the characters are predominantly like
Teen Titans go to the movies. Like there's been tons of other animated movies.
Right.
So
you're right.
It's not a Disney Pixar animated faux 3D stuff. So, but like I've also heard was it the day the Earth blew up is like it's making tons of money and like doing really good like reviews as well. It keeps popping up, and I'm like okay, so I'm interested in that as well. But yeah, catch up is. They're saving Looney Tunes, despite Warner Max also taking every original Looney Tune off of Max as well this week. So, anyway, I'm not digging what Warner Brothers throwing down. Might continue,
but it's been exciting. So this is a great time to just purchase one single month of Apple TV. Go binge those 2 seasons of Severance. If you happen to have, I don't know, any one of a million different ways to get HBO Max for free, go catch The Pit on there. Reacher, you probably have Amazon Prime already, so it's basically going to be free for you to watch anyway, but it's just a silly show. We talked about it a couple months ago when they cast this really bigger dude to be like an adversary, and like in this season, like the big dude like slaps Reacher across the face, and it looks like it really hurt him, and he like is surprised that it hurt. So it's pretty hilarious to watch that. But yeah, go check it out. It's a good time for TV watchers right now, and we'll be talking a little bit more about TV later in the show.
Well, let's jump into Superman like right away. Let's get into this. So Superman. The movie, the currently release time is around 140 minutes, Mike, which is 2 hours and 20 minutes for those who can't do the quick math. Like me, I had to sit there and look at it a little bit. Like 140 minutes. Is this long? Probably not. I feel like this is like an average James Gunn movie length. I think it's like 130 for his Suicide Squad, 150 for Guardians 3. So I'm like, do we feel the extra 10 minutes or not? Like that's the question.
It's the perfect length of movie to die on.
Yeah.
Like if it's a good movie, like that kind of extra 10, 15 minutes is welcome and exciting. If it's a bad movie, that is the overstaying your welcome portion of it. But I think we've talked about this before. I'd be surprised if this movie's bad. I could see it like kind of being underwhelming, but I doubt it's going to be bad.
Yeah, I think I think it'll be performing or underperforming will be the words we probably look at in July, right? Like rather than good or bad. But I did last week. I actually had a topic for you last week. Compared to Avatar, Fire and Ash will be longer than Avatar 2, which was already 3 hours and 12 minutes.
Yeah, bring it on. So, I'm ready. I'm prepared. First of all, I'm not going to make the mistake I made with Avatar 2. I went to like a true IMAX screen to where your knees are like butted up right against the row in front of you, like the back of their skull,
nice
the way the seats are tilted. And like you just can't get out to go to the bathroom. Like you can't, like every single person in your row has to stand up for you to go use the bathroom. And then of course, when you come back, you got to make them do it all over again. Yeah. So I'm either going to go to a different screening or I'm only going to go if I can get like a seat where I won't bother people. Cause like you said, with a runtime like that, we're going to be using the bathroom, folks.
I tell you what, when we saw it, like I said, down at Disney Springs at their laser projector theater, it wasn't IMAX, but the laser projector. It's one of those ones where like they bring the food to you if you want to order it, like at the seat. Mm-hmm. So like they have enough like room for people to come and deliver food. So if people get up and walk around, you don't notice them. I would recommend that because. Yeah, if you got to go to if it's 3 hours and 13 minutes, even if it's just 1 minute longer, I'm going to the bathroom in the middle of this thing. There is no way I'm going to be able to do that, unless it's just like so enthralling. Like I don't want to leave. Kind of like what was it like in game or something like that, right along the way. The other news, there was a tweet about, I think it was like maybe Thursday or Friday. They were like, "Hey, Superman and Japan tomorrow," and everyone's like, "Oh, is it a new trailer?" It wasn't. Japan's just confirming Superman will get a simultaneous Japanese-U.S. release, which I don't think is actually like a normal practice. I think this is like a big deal for them over there, like that they're actually getting the movie in Japanese. I think dubs a day and date release as America. So.
I mean, I don't know the financials of this necessarily, but this could be like a good strategy of if, I don't know, we're not seeing good box office returns from the giant country that is China. I do day and date releases with other European countries around there, or other Eastern countries, and maybe you kind of have more of a global effect on the box office.
Well, I think also they want to get as much in as they can. I think this will help prevent. I've seen this a lot lately, like digital releases like 2 or 3 weeks after in like African countries or like other nations, right? Like they even though it's out here, like 2 to 3 weeks later they put them out digitally to fight piracy like on the streets like over there. So I think this might help maybe be a step towards prevent people from trying to download it so soon if they could just go to the theaters and watch it right away. But
no, I'm all for it because I think it was silly for Paddington 3 to be released in the UK first and then not out here.
6 months.
I'm not trying to
be
like...
It was like 6 months, too. It was weird.
Yeah. Like, I'm not trying to be like an egotistical, like, American saying, like, I want it now here, too. But it just makes, like, these movies are ones and zeros on a hard drive. They can be released simultaneously everywhere, folks. I don't understand.
It was the same language, too. Like, that's the worst part. Like
yeah.
There's no, true. Like, there's no, they're not redubbing it. They're not editing it for content because it's a kid's movie. Like, it's just really weird that it wasn't done in the same thing. And I honestly, like I said, I don't know. Well, again, I don't understand why they couldn't do that, but like, it's just weird. Like, of a movie, a third movie in a trilogy that has almost perfect scores, you think you'd want to just do it all at the same time. So weird stuff. I'm gonna move on to Supergirl because it's filming and they're building some exterior sets for the movie, and boy, is this like the most sci-fi, indescript kind of thing I've ever seen in my life before. I will say, however, if you look at this photo, so they're building out exterior sets. They're fairly large, for an outside set, which is something that looks like you could build inside. So I'm not sure why this is outside, Mike, to begin with, because it looks very basic, right? Like there's nothing extra here that needs to be outside. But if you look on the upper left wall there, it looks to be like some containers and maybe some turrets, like a Star Wars docking bay might be going on here, kind of along the way.
Well, I'm trying to figure out, are these container ship walls
all right, yeah, that's
just part of the production studio, or is this supposed to be part of the set?
It's a studio. Those are privacy walls that drones are just popped up and over on. So people don't know. They like, oh, they're actually containers there. They're actually doing a set. Well, they've got a set in here, but like, it's very hard to describe what this is. But like, it looks like literally if you were like on a Star Destroyer and they were like, the Millennium Falcon's gonna land here. This is what it would look like, right?
Yeah, it's definitely alien. It looks like, there's going to be some sort of like invisible force field that lets the spaceships fly in from space to the landing. But yeah, very alien coded with these geometric shapes around the floor, which is weird. I don't know why our brains have been programmed to think these shapes mean alien, but probably because every sci-fi ever has used these shapes.
What? It could be the shapes, could be the colors. Like I also see like, I'm reading into this too much. Like Alien, like it looks like the ship's an Alien, or like Predator. The door on the I guess the upper right corner there, it kind of looks like a QR code as well. So it looks like they might be doing some mapping over that door as well.
Yeah,
but it's just interesting to see sets built outside these days because they're doing a lot of these interior, and this looks like it should be an interior set. Just maybe they didn't have the space for it at the time. I will say as a note, Avengers Doomsday is getting ready to film. They're doing sets and stuff. So I imagine it's going to be a summer of poorly rendered drone shots, Mike, for us to get into some of these details. But you guys can check that out here. Jason Momoa is out doing his interview rounds because the Minecraft movie drops next month, early next month. and he will, he confirms that he will have the motorcycle, a space motorcycle, if Lobo is known for in the comic books, and quote, "I'll say the bike's really cool," he said. He seems very excited about this role for DC, James Gunn, Warner Brothers, and he confirms that they will use the comic accurate fraggin and bastich language, which are bastich. I don't know how to pronounce it. I always read in the comics, but like these are fancy ways to cuss in the comic books to get around it, right? So, was it Rocket says flarkin? I think in the Guardians movies quite a bit. So it seems like they're gonna let him be the rude dude who's smokes cigars. Even maybe. When's the last time you saw smoking in a movie that was like PG-13, Mike? I was trying to figure that out.
When's the last time I saw a movie with Jason Momoa where I was excited? That's throwing shade, folks.
Dune. He was pretty good in Dune.
You know what? I know I haven't said this on the show recently, but every time I think back to the Dune movies, I just go, I think those were a movie I watched, right? It's like when a movie takes place entirely on a desert planet, like you almost don't remember anything. At least in my brain, it's just like, yeah, there was sand, there was like a worm, they were like talking about their savior in a tent a couple times, and it's just like, and then the movie was over. So I don't know if that's the best impression you want to leave in my brain, but I thought it was cool when they went to that black and white planet and they shot everything like in black and white. Yeah, people were like in goo and stuff. That was cool.
I don't think Dune was for you, but he will be back in the third Dune movie. I'm fairly confident in that. Jason Momoa will, but I think Supergirl has got some stuff. I would like to see her in the outfit. I want to see Millie Alcock in the Supergirl outfit. I know she's got a new movie coming out on Netflix. I don't know what it's about. They shared a kind of a photo, and I was like, okay, that's her. So I'd love to see some more on this stuff. Maybe we'll get, knowing this is coming out June of next year, you think they'll just put the first teaser with Superman? Because she'll be in Superman. Like, you think we'll have the trailer attached to the beginning of the movie, or do you think they're going to do like a post-credit scene instead?
Probably something like that. It seems maybe too early for a teaser in front of it. See here, Superman is
July.
Is it July?
Yeah, July. It's less than a year.
I mean, I could see maybe a teaser at Comic-Con if Gunn and Safran go to Comic-Con.
Well, I think they'd want to put at least a small teaser, even if it's just very light, kind of like what was the first Superman teaser? Was it just the one with the dog? That was the first trailer? I thought we had another one before that. Either way, I think they'd want to have it in there simply because it is the next DC movie, right? They want people to remember that there's more movies down the road. So it might just be something light, like, but I know, knowing that she's in Superman, I would want to know if maybe it was like the end of the movie, because if she's in there with Superman, how does she get back to space? Or like, what sends her off to space right at the end of it? So, a lot of questions about DCU. Not really sure where it's coming from. Another movie that was confirmed a couple weeks ago for the DCU is Sergeant Rock, and knowing that they were looking for a Daniel Craig type and not Daniel Craig, Colin Farrell is rumored to be the new front runner for this movie, pulling double duty from Penguin and Batman across, I guess, DC and DC, I guess, Elseworlds and DCU. And the character will most likely return, Colin Farrell, as Penguin in Batman Part 2. And as another note, they keep saying, Peter Safran and James Gunn, that the Penguin Season 2 is not confirmed at this time. So, even though everybody loved the first season, do you think casting, I know he looks very different from the Penguin here. Do you think he would be a good World War II, like, military sergeant shooting Nazis? I don't know.
It's weird. I guess they are. I mean, is this movie actually going to happen?
Yes,
we talk about Sergeant Rock like it's real.
We've got the writers and we got the director already. We're pretty committed.
I guess I'll believe it once I see it. But I mean, we were just talking about Momoa. I mean, it's not out of the realm for these actors to like pull double duty. That's for sure. Maybe I mean, I guess it's a different universe, but I was like, maybe Sergeant Rock could be like the Penguin's like great grandpa or something.
Yeah, well, yeah,
that's not gonna happen.
Yeah, it's just DC properties, but like Colin Farrell's like really is he like a Wonder Boy for like Warner Brothers, because like he did like the first Fantastic Beast movie, right? When he was like
maybe he's got like a first look overall with Warner Brothers or something. But I do kind of get this this hostile social media post that I see occasionally in my feeds, where an actor is cast in something and somebody, it's usually like a disgruntled up-and-coming actor that's like, there's other people that you can hire out there. There's other actors out there in the world. Right. It's not just these 4 people. And that's, I feel like usually that complaint is mostly levied at Netflix, who seems to just hire the same like 15 Netflix actors for everything. Cue Millie Bobby Brown.
I think they own her. I don't think they hire. I think they actually
she was made in a lab at Netflix.
Right.
They got to get their ROI back.
Yeah. And I agree with you in this situation. It just feels like, and to your point of that post, James Gunn just hires the same people over and over again. Like, does that not feel how it is? Like,
it's like one thing to want to work with your friends, but I think once you get elevated to the post of like lead of a studio, I feel like there's not a lot of like forward thinking of just like, do you think maybe we should go out there and like find like the next big like actor? And the advantage of doing that is if we start them early in their career, they're going to be cheap, and then they'll have a little bit of loyalty to our studio, and maybe that'll work out well in our long term.
Like, I just don't see Colin Farrell playing a World War II guy killing Nazis, like as a military. I mean, I'm sure he can do it. He's an actor. I mean, he's a great actor. He recovered from playing Bullseye from Daredevil 2003, Mike. Like, obviously he is a good actor, but like at the same point, I'm like, we don't need him. We don't need him in there unless this is like, hey, we're sorry we put you in all that makeup for an extra season of a show, kind of like pity thing. But that's still not the right answer to hire somebody at the end of the day. So I don't know. I would just wish this movie will come out. It'll be weird. Hopefully GI Robot's in it, because Sergeant Rock was in the Creature Commando show in a flashback. But I would love to see someone probably a little more rugged for this one. The other thing we didn't talk about last week, I was going to put in there because to bring it to you, that the rumor that Peter Safran will take over Warner Brothers movies and leave the DC studios and just go work on Warner Brothers movie studios. Do you think that would be a wise decision to split up the team that we last talked about that were not on the same page?
It's interesting because like they haven't really birthed much out there in the universe, so you kind of just have to go like I don't know, does like Zaslav see something, behind the scenes that we haven't seen yet? Yeah. You can kind of look at it either way, right? You could be like, oh, they're working so successful as a team, break them apart and, we can divide their talent across the whole studio. Or it's like, maybe they're not getting along super well and you kind of want to separate them a little bit.
I'm going to disagree with that because Peter Safran has been a producer since like the 90s. So like, I think he has history to show that he can birth things for Warner Brothers. And has done like he's got like I think 20 movies for Warner Brothers and like even more outside of that. So, but like it's like, do you think like maybe this was like a warming session, like a pre-trial? Like, hey,
maybe. I mean, Safran might like the idea of getting out from underneath Gunn's kind of figurehead of the studio. I mean,
separate himself.
Nobody even talks about Safran. Yeah. Like I feel like only if you're in the know, kind of like we are, we even bring up Safran. I have to remind myself to be like, oh yeah, it's not just Gunn's studio, and I know the truth. So yeah, the normal person out there, they're not even thinking.
And I think if Superman comes out, doesn't make the money, they do one more round of movies and it's not really hitting, and they hit reboot yet again, Peter Safran would recover and still be a producer. James Gunn, I don't think would be a president or chair or whatever of a studio. I think he'd just go back to being a director at the end of the day, right? Like,
he's an artist. Like if this whole like running a studio doesn't work out from him, he'll probably take a break and then just start. He'll probably like go back to doing what he loves, is just like making like
the Star-Lord movie,
quirky like horror movies or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think that I think if they did, it's because he's like he could land on his feet at the end of the day. Got some new images for Ironheart, one of coming out later this year. These are not like officially released; they were like shared through like some social media channel, but it shows obviously actress Dominique Thorne, who was in Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, returning as Riri Williams in Ironheart. And one of the things I've seen a lot of comments on. And things was like it's the return of the physical suits, Mike, the actual non-nanotech suits where they just materialize over people, and people are like, oh, I missed the helmet sliding down and snapping into place, and then the eyes actually glowing rather than being, just like, again, CGI nano eyes. This looks like a real suit with a real mask over the actress, and that kind of had me a little hyped for it.
Yeah, like I hope this show is great, but I feel like Marvel features and television are on this oscillating wavelength right now, which is good in a sense of that means things could change and go good at any moment. But the features are like wavering. We had a dip with Brave New World, but Thunderbolts looks promising. Hopefully it'll stay up for Fantastic Four and hopefully stay up there, and we will have fixed it. Daredevil's great. We're at a high right now, but I can't even honestly tell you what was before Daredevil, which is not a good sign. What did Marvel TV do before Daredevil?
The last live action show wasn't it?
Oh, it was Agatha all along, right?
Yeah, Agatha, and before that was Loki, I think. Season 2.
Okay, so they're vibrating pretty good right now, but I'm kind of worried about Ironheart taking us a dip.
This is the again we've talked about the movies are out of the asterisk phase, right? Of pre stuff. Ironheart has been done for like 2 years. This is going to be one of those shows that will have the asterisk beside it because
that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that they just brought in a really talented team that can just pull this character just out of the muck of what was Black Panther 2. Black Panther 2, similar to how I was just talking about Dune earlier, I don't think back on Black Panther 2 like with fond memories, right? It was a movie birthed out of a tragedy, a real life tragedy, and then like I can't really think back to anything super cool that I liked about it. I remember a final battle on like a weird boat or a submarine or something out in the middle of nowhere, and then there was just like weird CGI robots flying around, and Ironheart was one of them, and it kind of felt unearned for the character. So I'm hoping they can just like really bring the character back to her roots of being in like a cool suit, even though we haven't really seen the roots ourselves in person, and just make us fall in love with her, because it's a cool everybody likes Marvel characters that are like street level, super smart, able to be scrappy and fight back against impossible odds, and that kind of seems like what they're setting up here. So I hope I fall in love with the character.
Well, I think the benefit of this is, like I just said, is they took away her power. Like they took away the suit they gave her in the movie, right? They kind of introduced her and said, okay, you're a new character, you're an existing character, we're just going to give you something real fast, and then at the end they're like, you can't take it with you. So she is starting from scratch, and we do get to spend time with the character rather than she had a metal suit and a like a garage he was building. So I do think this will, but it will serve that asterisk here. Let me see here. When did it? Trying to pull up when did it actually? Footage was shown at the 2022 D23 Expo, Mike. So that's how long it's been that they've been filming this for a while. But again, I don't know. Again, we don't have insights to everything. Maybe they've done some stuff filming that. I believe the production team of this is Ryan Coogler's Proximity Media with that. So we will have a different team rather than the other one. So we'll see what this comes out as. But it is asterisk. I do like the suit. I think the rugged, scrappy suit that's made in an homage to like the original Iron Man. It has personality to it, and a visual flair that's different than, like we said, the CGI one that was made in the movie. That was a little, I would say maybe on the nose, but like a little too sleek, right? A little too uncanny, if you will.
Yeah. Well, we'll have Wonder Man and Marvel Zombies to kind of pad us out for the rest of the year on the TV side of things. So hopefully it goes. Hopefully 2026, we're just singing the praises and just looking forward to Marvel kind of completing their second opus.
We don't. It's not just Marvel Zombies. We also have Eyes of Wakanda as well.
Is that this year?
Yep, August. It's actually before Marvel Zombies and Ironheart. It's actually in August. So we get those 4 mini episodes. We have Ironheart in September, Marvel Zombies in October, and then Wonder Man at the end of December. And I think Wonder Man's going to be interesting because it doesn't feel like a show made out of necessity. It feels like someone's like, we want to make a show. Here's an idea. Destin Daniel Cretton, who was doing Spider-Man 4, possibly Shang-Chi 2. It was like, I have an idea. Can I do it? And they were like, yeah, sure. Which, when the shows like Agatha and like Loki have like a different take, a different unique voice, I think we're going to be seeing something different throughout this. And I just realized you put the old Riri suit on the Marvel television on our
That's
image
because
mic.
That's because I couldn't pull like a nice solid silhouette from these new screenshots.
They move pretty quick in
until they give me a nice like kind of Hot Toys like 3D turnaround that I can pull from. I'm pulling that thing from Black Panther 2.
Yeah, very 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 sleek looking at. Moving on, let's talk about the Defenders, Mike. We're in the resurgence of Daredevil, the return of Daredevil. And with that, obviously, I think Netflix, the CEO, what's his name? I can't think of his name.
Ted Sarandos?
Yes, Ted Sarandos, has been out talking to Variety because what was it, the Electric State, I think, came out recently, a week or two ago.
Yes.
And they've got some other stuff they've been announcing. But, obviously people are like, hey, Marvel's doing Daredevil again. You guys started Daredevil 10 years ago. Talk about it. And I've got some quotes from this Variety article, and and I didn't realize this, but they said Netflix says by far our Marvel deal in 2013 was the biggest deal in the history of television, and no one will ever touch it. They committed to 5 original seasons of TV with no pilots, 13 expensive episodes for each show centered around one character, and then a crossover season. That must have been a very hard check to sign at the time for Netflix.
I mean, honestly, I don't hear a lot of people complaining so much about the deal overall. It's just usually kind of the occasional like episode or like TV character. But I mean, overall, it was a great television deal for everyone involved. Disney Plus was not off the ground yet, and they were really not in this golden age of television.
It wasn't even
like
an
everyone
idea.
else was.
Like Disney Plus wasn't even an idea at that point.
Yeah. Netflix was only like soaring upwards in trajectory.
And they just got rid of DVDs,
sense.
right? Like this was like when Netflix went all in on streaming. Like they were like, we're getting rid of DVDs too,
and it's hard to commend lawyers or who knows, maybe it was producers that put this down there, but they were smart in the idea of saying like, Netflix, you were going to be the distributor, but not permanently. Like you're not going to own these characters. This isn't your show to own. So Netflix basically got the clout of having original Marvel characters on their platform for, it was well over 10 years, if I remember right. I don't remember how long the deal was.
No, because 10 years is this year. Daredevil came out April of 2015.
Oh, wow. Shorter deal than I thought. Well, that's even, I guess that's even better for Marvel. That must have meant that they knew that there was a streaming platform that they were going to have eventually in the future. That I'm sure that was in development for a while. So they probably had that expiration tee up.
I think they had like, just hey, we can, I don't even think that. I think they were like, if we want to sell the rights to another streamer at the time, or like renegotiate the deal. I think probably like, hey, we want more money because they were popular. That's probably that. They probably then, because again, I think the thing is here, no pilots. That's huge, right? We talk about most shows need a pilot to get greenlit. They didn't do any pilots. They said, here's the characters we want to use. 13 episodes at the time sounded like a good idea. In retrospect, boy, there's a lot of fluff in those older seasons. With that, a lot of dragging on subplots that don't really go anywhere, or things you don't care about.
Yeah,
but
it's kind of weird though, because it was less of an issue though, because it was the binge model. So all it really did was kind of make your weekend binge a little bit longer than it typically would have been.
I truly do not ever want to revisit the Netflix shows because of how much like extra stuff is in there. When I'm like, I know what the season's about. Can we just watch the important part? I would love someone to do like, hey, here's like the 8-episode cut that you can watch on YouTube or something. Like, hey, here's the important parts because none of these matter. Like, we know where they end now. You can cut out the stuff that really doesn't matter to the characters, right? Like,
well, I will simply plug again one of the best YouTube channels around, The Man of Recaps. He is amazing at recapping. You just got to be lucky and hope that he's watching the show that you're watching, because we watched his Daredevil recap. I think he has like 2 different recaps for Netflix Daredevil. I think he recaps the first 3 seasons either separately or all together, and he did that maybe a year or 2 ago, and then he has a fresh new recap where he does that, but then also throws in his brief cameo in the Spider-Man movie and She-Hulk, and maybe if there's anything else he might possibly touch on. But it was a great primer. Like, my wife was totally out of the loop because she never even witnessed a single second of Daredevil season 3, and that recap really got us ready to go for the Disney Plus new season.
Cool. And then on the other side, I'm going to say a listener wrote into me and said they did not feel he did a good job, and they actually had to go watch more. So for Daredevil, so I'm going to throw out just so what someone else told me as well, that it was not that good for Daredevil. So.
I would guess maybe they watched maybe the most recent recap. I mean, he even says in his most recent recap, if you want more information, because he kind of skims over the Defenders portion of it, because really it's not super prominent to what.
Yeah, I don't think you need to watch Defenders.
All I'm trying to say is, like, don't be hating on my man of recaps, because I love my man of recaps.
Yeah, no, this person absolutely hated on him. So
I'll go
put it
to
out
war
there.
for. Yeah. He wears a T-shirt that looks like a tuxedo in every video.
That makes me not want to watch it even more, because that's the stupidest shirt.
He picked the red T-shirt that looks like a tuxedo for the Daredevil recap. So I love that goofy bastard.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on to this, the Netflix CEO Ted Sarandos was talking about the Marvel television at the time was they were cheap, and we noticed, we talked about this before, Mike, on the show since we started that, and I'm going to quote him real fast. On our shows, we were dealing with the old Marvel television regime, which operated independently at Disney. They were thrifty, he admitted, and every time we wanted to make the shows bigger or better, we had to bang on them. Our incentives were not well aligned. We wanted to make great television. They wanted to make great money. I thought we could make money with great television. So this was like the time when Ike Perlmutter was fired from Marvel Studios and was put under Marvel Television. And we've told stories and stories about him, right? Like, remember, like at the Iron Man 1 press screening, like he didn't want to serve chips because they thought it was too expensive for the press people to give them food at the screenings.
I mean, I think like definitively he's just like a bad person.
Oh, yeah.
You could read a lot about him. So.
I'm not going to talk about his character, but yes, because his character is bad. But like as a businessman, he didn't think he came from the toy world. He was a toy CEO, and then it ended up, when Marvel was falling apart in the 90s, ended up falling upwards essentially into this, and didn't want to give money away for this stuff. But like obviously these shows need to be 13 episodes, a lot of effects, a lot of going choreography. Like we always talk about the Daredevil fight scenes, right? You know why they were in hallways? Because they didn't have money for anywhere else to kind of do those. So obviously Marvel Television at the time, they're not known for doing smart things, even up to the end. Like, do you remember Hellstrom was a TV show they did, Mike? They greenlit Hellstrom.
Oh God, yeah.
There was Hit Monkey, which actually got 2 seasons. The MODOK claim or stop motion one, and I forget what the other one was. There was another one in there too, but like they really just like they were making some weird stuff. But like Netflix, I'm not gonna say Ted Sarandos is right that they like making great television, because they don't. They like making okay television for streaming. And I will point to the Electric State reviews to say that even with their biggest names, they're just doing okay content, not great content. So I wouldn't say he was like maybe shooting for the moon, but maybe there was some stuff in there. But this is just really interesting to that 10 years later they can look back and be like, yeah, we wanted to do more. Marvel TV at the time wouldn't do more, but now Marvel Studios is doing it, and everyone seems to be loving Daredevil. Mike, I saw again, we don't use Rotten Tomatoes on the show, but someone said the score is actually going up every week when a new episode comes out overall. Which,
I mean, we haven't had a chance to talk about the show because obviously Chris hasn't caught up yet.
We gotta get on the same page. It's on me.
But I have really been liking it. It really feels like it's kind of taken me back in time to watching like Daredevil, like season 1 or season 2. Like I feel like I'm back in it. Like they've done this great job of reviving the show, but still keeping it fresh, but giving me everything that I loved about the character. I've seen some possible negative reviews of saying like they want the character to be in the suit and like fighting bad guys. They want it to be more like I guess like a typical like superhero or comic book. But I love like the kind of like procedural like law component of it. I guess I shouldn't say procedural. There's not really a lot of procedure happening here. But
he's a good lawyer.
I kind of love
a really good lawyer.
I just love the character of like Matt Murdock. He's trying to fight his inner demons. He's like a secret badass, which is always fun in anything that you watch. It's like a trope that I really like of like having an overpowered character and then idiots walking up to them thinking that they can get away with something, and then like arms get broken and he like screams like up at the camera like, why have I done this? So I've really been digging it. It's been awesome.
Well, I would also say the title Born Again means like he's not gonna come in and just be like, okay, well, this is the same stuff from last time, right? Like obviously there's some inciting incidents that kind of set it down the path, but like being born again means like there's gonna be a status quo change, and he's got to get back into the suit. And I don't think it'll be the last episode, like the original Daredevil seasons did, because they are filming season 2 right now, and some set photos have shown like he's in the suit from a distance, but like very like 87% Rotten Tomato meter, 80% popcorn meter. Like this is awesome. Like very excited to revisit this and catch up with it. Watch the rest of it. But like they were able to bring that Netflix hype with them along the way. So
I'm kind of curious how an audience member would react from binging the first 3 seasons and then going straight into this, because when I think about it, first season Kingpin was the adversary. Second season, it's the Hand. Third season, it's Kingpin again. If you consider this the 4th season, it's Kingpin again. So it always really, they should call this like the Daredevil and Kingpin series, because Kingpin is almost entirely, and I'm not saying that's bad any, like Vincent D'Onofrio nails it at this role, but I'm curious, is there going to be a version of this character that can kind of exist without Kingpin, at least for another season? I'd be interested to maybe explore that.
Well, they tend to throw, I wouldn't say like season 3 is Bullseye in Kingpin. I know Kingpin's pulling the levers, right? Like at the top, that's what he does, is Bullseye. We've already transitioned to our next bullet point here. The showrunner says the character Muse, who I've not come into in the show yet, and I don't think correct me if I'm wrong, at episode 4, Mike, I don't think he's still in it yet.
He's only been hinted very briefly so far. We've seen the character in the costume, but beyond some glimpses, that's been about it.
So, like, the showrunner says Muse will play a role in season 1 and beyond, and I'm using the quotes "and beyond," to his words. Indicating, like, is he going to be a recurring threat, or is this someone who's going to leave a lasting impression, right? Like someone who's like, in the last episode does something so drastic that like they're always dealing with like that fallout along the way.
Well, Beyond is very interesting because I'm watching this season of Daredevil right now, and then also seeing leaked set photos of the second season being produced. So they're almost kind of like spoilers in a way of like they're revealing like this special task force that's going to be created in the second season. So I feel like I'm already kind of seeing where this season is supposed to ultimately go, and then go into this is like the first time that's really happened to us here in like superhero television land, right? Even if you were watching like the CW stuff, right? All of that stuff would have their season finales in May, right? And then production for that show wouldn't kick up until like close to the end of the summer. So we haven't really had quite an overlap like this and stuff that we've talked about where we're still consuming what's being in production right now. So it's kind of weird. I don't know if that'll happen for season 3, because I know this season kind of started production longer ago, but then there was re-edits. So we're in this kind of weird zone that's kind of unique at the moment. So I don't know. I guess look out for possible spoilers.
Yeah, everything I've seen hasn't really given spoilers, but like it's kind of been like the first episode kind of gave a point in direction for everything that how it would go. But like obviously the idea is like, this character that's not been there a lot will show up, and I'm curious if they mean when they say and beyond, like, is that like literally season 2, season 3, or is it like, hey, this person does something so drastic, like, offs a main character or something, does something that like has implications kind of forever. Because like one of the characters that, I don't know if you remember this, Mike, was Stick from the first Netflix version of Daredevil. They don't reference him at all. I'm like, boy, they just kind of left some of these old characters out in the rut, didn't they? Along the way. So I'm excited to see what they do with season 2, 3, and more. Like serialized Daredevil television is really good stuff. I would hope that some of the other characters get to return. Obviously, John Bernthal's getting his Punisher one shot, if you will. Is there any other ex-Defender that you would love to see come back in season 2 that we haven't seen yet?
I want Luke Cage.
Okay.
I love that guy. Let me know what he's up to, man. Yeah. I just want to see. I want to see my bulletproof buddy again.
Right. I do. I would love to see him again, still as like a quote unquote kingpin of Harlem, if you will. Right. Like it's kind of where we left him off at. So like that'd be interesting to see. Him as the kingpin versus like the actual kingpin. In that, it's like he's like, stay out of Harlem. So I agree with that entirely. Anyone but Iron Fist. I think we're all in agreement on that. Moving on, Spider-Man 4. Last week, Mike, we reported on the news that Sadie Sink from Stranger Things was cast in the movie. And the rumor is that this film will feature a female villain for the web crawler. We don't think it's Sadie Sink, but we have no confirmation at this time. Because we've talked about this movie so much, and it's always changing, always evolving. Everyone loves a good Spider-Man rumor on the internet, Mike. Everybody tries to make their own Spider-Man rumors. But right now, Black Cat is the front-runner theory for the villain. But there's no confirmed age range for this villain or actress attached. Do you think the Black Cat finally appearing in a Marvel movie with Spider-Man is the right way to go?
Yeah, I mean, it's so interesting. We've had so many Spider-Man movies now. We've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've had 8 Spider-Man movies, yet 0 appearances from some of the most iconic characters in his comic book run. So, yeah, we're due a Black Cat.
Yeah.
Very, very soon.
Spider-Man 4 from Sam Raimi had Black Cat. Anne Hathaway was cast in the role before they started filming, if you remember. And John Malkovich was the Vulture before they canceled that. And then also the actress who played Jen Erso in Rogue One. She was Felicity Hardy in Amazing Spider-Man 2, I believe. The Andrew Garfield one that had like 1 million characters in it. Way too many to handle. Who was going to, obviously she was going to become the Black Cat later. So they've been teasing this character, but they've never committed to it. But when they said female villain, the 2 other people came to me. Wraith from the Spider-Man games. You remember? You've played those. Remember her? Yuri Watanabe.
I'm trying to remember.
She's a cop.
I'm trying to remember.
The cop who becomes.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I guess
in the comic books,
the video game character would be a different origin.
Yeah. The video games is villain. But the another one that's popped up several times from several scoopers is a character called Spider Queen. This is she's a spider. If they're doing a Spider Island kind of story, because no one knows what this movie is, she was a World War II era mutant that can control insects and arachnids, including Spider-Man himself. Now, obviously, they can change her origin story and make her whatever they want, but we've not seen anyone actually anyone actually control Spider-Man himself, which would be an interesting kind of way to take the story, which we've never seen.
Yeah, I feel like this is the Vegas bet where you go just probably the most obvious, makes the most sense. So probably Black Cat. I had to Google Spider Queen.
Yeah. Like if you look at her, like there's like she has like a monster spider version, but like there's like just a regular person version as well.
Oh yeah, she does kind of turn into a monster. That's crazy.
Yeah. Like she's like, it's like, I think in like one, like in Spider Island, she becomes like this big spider thing, and like she even like takes Peter Parker and like transforms him into like a spider looking dude, kind of like how we had like the animated cartoon from the 90s.
That I don't know if we ever get to a point where they can pull that off on the big screen, but that would be cool to see like a werewolf style transformation into that spider. That would be pretty brutal.
Yeah. And everyone would know the look, right? Like when he gets the extra arms and stuff like that, they'd be like, "Oh, I remember that story." But maybe we get a return to that when they get to Spider-Man 98 or whatever it is. Spider-Man Return
97, 6. I don't know.
It's X-Men. It's X-Men 97, so it'd be like I think it's the next year, which is 98. But either way, on top of all this stuff, the scoopers are saying Marvel has already mapped out Spider-Man 5 and 6 on top of this, so rather than just doing one at a time, they've got a plan for the people they're bringing in now and how they're going to carry through the next 2 movies. And this is most likely due to a prolonged deal with Sony, who has given up on Spider-Man characters at this time in theaters. So that's a plus for everybody. And Tom Holland has said, he's probably going to do through Spider-Man 6 another trilogy, and by then they will probably give the reins over to a live-action Miles Morales, so who may be introduced in Spider-Man 4 or 5 too.
It just makes the most sense. I mean, everyone's going to know. Everyone already knows who Miles is, but he'll be even more of a household name once they get this Spider-Verse trilogy out the door. It'll be a great way to send off Tom Holland as a character, because it'll be 6 movies on his own, plus his appearances in all the other Avengers and Civil War movies and whatnot. So it feels like we're going to start coming into a pattern here soon with retiring old Avengers characters. They either need to swing off into the sunset or they need to die to never be seen again. So I guess, how do you do that in the MCU really? Because people are always complaining about like, well, why does the Avengers show up to save this character from this threat? And are you going to be watching a Miles movie going like, well, why doesn't Peter just swing by and help him real quick? But maybe a multiversal shift could fix that. I don't know.
Well, even if it's not if they're over by multiverse by then, that's fine with me. I think the one thing I don't want to see them kill Spider-Man. I think in all the books, in all the comic books, they have like this ongoing never said thing where like Spider-Man has to be a miserable person and never gets what he wants, right? At the end of the day. I would love to see Spider-Man at the end. He's like, yes, maybe he loses his powers somehow and goes to live a normal life, and gets to like, maybe have a family or be like a scientist, and like, they have Parker Industries in the comic books. Like maybe he gets to go and be a scientist without powers at the end of it. I don't want him to die. He doesn't need to die. Let's give him a happy ending where maybe they could pull him back in, kind of like how they do with Mark Ruffalo. Like, hey, we need a smart person, a scientist, and he could be the scientist. But he doesn't have to have powers. He's not out there helping them. That's why he doesn't show up. It's because he's using his brain instead, and he's like sporadically.
I do like that pitch, and I feel like that works well with a hero at the end of their story, where Peter Parker basically has to make the decision. Oh, if I need to jump in front of this genetic altering cannon to save a loved one and sacrifice myself, and he thinks he's going to die, but actually it just wipes his powers away. And then in true comic book fashion, later down the line, when Tom Holland's like in his 30s or whatever, and they're trying to reboot Spider-Man for the 50th time, you could bring him back and it'd be like, oh, my power slowly came back. Actually, it's pretty crazy and cool, right?
Well,
that does make. I like that idea.
Ultimate Spider-Man killed off Spider-Man, and then they found out like he was like they couldn't really kill him, so like he came back like months later. It was bad. Like the deaths need to mean something, kind of like Iron Man, right? Like deaths need to mean something. But like I'm tired of like all these heroes like dying for the movie to end. They don't need to die. Just do something different. Like let them be happy, and just kind of remove them from the table in that situation. Moving on, Avengers Doomsday, like we mentioned, Top Show will be filming soon. Of course, who's not going to be in these movies? You can literally write down a character, Mike, from any movie you've seen so far, or comic book. They don't even have to be in the movie so far. And they're probably going to be on a betting board in Vegas saying they're going to be in this movie. And right now, the biggest rumor is that Clea, played by, oh my gosh, what's her name? She's in Doctor Strange at the end of the movie with the blonde hair.
Does it start with a T? I want to say it starts with like a T.
Boy, people are screaming through this. She was. I just watched this movie where that '90s movie where she's like, from MTV. Fucking, I gotta look this up. Doctor Strange. Okay, so anyway, she's gonna be in the movie. That's the biggest thing, and we did see her leave off at the end of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, with Doctor Strange to go fight incursions. So like that's like the best.
Thea?
Charlize Theron. Charlize Theron.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Charlize Theron is the actress who plays Clea, so she will be in this. Again, she was talking about the incursions, which we know is like the Doomsday Secret Wars, like the big thing that they're going to be working towards. So it would make sense she shows up. And hopefully we get that Doctor Strange 3. I think Doctor Strange has a lot of potential for his next third movie. Hopefully it's not multiverse based. He's already done that, but I think she would be really fun to be there beside him because she's just as powerful, knows all the stuff. Along the way.
I mean, technically, you could have a lot of people return in this movie in a post-credit scene, right? You could have like a brief glimpse of like a battle world that kind of shows everybody, right? And that really gets tickets sold for part 2. I mean, whether it's Doomsday or Secret Wars, I kind of want to see all of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. iconic heroes pop back up, or villains like Gravitron or Quake or just Robbie Reyes. It'd be kind of fun just to see them again, just because Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of feels like a fever dream that never really happened, but it did.
Yeah, we're going to go back to the old Marvel television regime, and probably all the negativity they spawned probably won't have that come back. But it'd be fun to see Phil Coulson again, right? Like Phil Coulson at least.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that you show Phil Coulson on the big screen, you're going to get cheers and claps out of the audience, which I know people kind of jeer at Marvel for doing, of just like, oh, clap, cameo. But that's honestly what you are looking for in these Avengers movies. You want the cameos because that's exactly how the comic book events work too. When you're reading these comic books events, you want to turn the page and you want to see a reveal of a character that finally popped. Like, oh shit, they drew this person in this issue. And so that is what comic books are.
What would be cool about this, because you brought Marvel Television and Phil Coulson. What I would say what we need is actually Phil Coulson saving Loki in this one, like, because like the throwback to the Avengers, like, yes, he comes to, he's like, I was never as, I should probably kill you for killing me, but I'm not that person. And they know Loki's like, obviously the MacGuffin of this film because he controls the time stream. That would be awesome, like to have that come full circle.
And that version of Loki would, I mean, before he kind of peels off and goes to the TVA, it was only, maybe
a few minutes?
Hours ago? Half a day?
Yeah.
That he murdered Coulson?
Exactly. So, like, and he controls the time stream, and he could give Coulson, a happy ending, with that. Not like that kind of happy ending, folks. Calm down.
It's like, ooh, that's going to be,
but
there's lots of cheers in the audience for that.
Exactly. But I there's a lot of opportunities to have these full circle moments with these characters that we have spent the better part of 20 years, coming up on 20 years with.
Ooh. Also, I've seen so many hot takes and think pieces over like the last week of the Russo brothers, right? After the Electric State and the Gray Man and Cherry. They're kind of post Marvel movies, and people are and I was getting a little worried about Doomsday myself, but then I saw some person came in, I wish I could remember who they were, with the most level-headed argument of like, maybe these are just directors that work better within bounds of something that's already been created. And there's there's nothing wrong with being a director like that, right? Like Neil Blomkamp, for example, has made some amazing stuff out of things that have kind of already existed, which is why I think his Halo movie could have been amazing. Yeah. And they also started out in the world of television directing. And he made this amazing argument where, like, we've already talked about before about how these Marvel movies are kind of just like the most expensive TV show of all time. And them moving from directing episodes of Community to directing kind of quote unquote episodes of Marvel in a way, I think just fits them really, really well. So I was a little bit more optimistic after I heard this person's argument.
And I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier. Ted Sarandos doesn't give a shit about quality on Netflix, right? He's just pulling in names to be on there. Like, it's like, hey, the guys who directed the Avengers, the Russo brothers. We got Millie Bobby Brown. We're bringing back Chris Pratt. We've got, all these people in the Electric State, and Tom Holland. They're not pulling quality. But if I go and looked at all these movies, Mike, the difference between something the production company AGBO, which is the Russo brothers, did in Marvel, is that there are no named producers that I would know, or even hardly clickable on Wikipedia, to say, yeah, who's overseeing these dudes on Netflix? Nobody.
Yeah, that's true.
Like we don't put our faith in, like, yes, we do put our faith in this, but like when you think of Marvel, who do you think about running Marvel? Kevin Feige, the producers, right?
It's
like
the Feigster.
The producers are the ones who are making sure the movie comes out good and quality and will meet the success that they need to have it. I don't see producers on Netflix doing the same thing. They're just like, hey, you know, we need to spend money and get X amount of like subscriptions. Not like subscriptions are different than movie ticket sales, right? Like we're already like if they're already a subscriber, do we count them for this? Like, how does that work? I don't know. I know they have a probably some math for it, but like, boy, nobody like I think it's the producers overseeing the directors that then oversees the content. And I also think, like you mentioned, Marvel, they have histories of they're just pulling from comic books that already exist. I think that'll be better because we didn't talk about it last week. I think I told you I watched Mickey 17, right? And I read Mickey.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes. So
what'd you think of the Mickey?
So I read Mickey 7 first, the book that's based on. It's a very short book. Before I get into Mickey 17, the book is a great science fiction idea, but is written so fucking poorly. Like it's like it's explaining things to you as you need to know it, rather than like setting the stage for you. And the movie is just the same. Like there is nothing in there that made me care about this character or his plight, and it was just kind of just meh at the end of the day, Mike. Like I was really hoping to enjoy this because Bong Joon-ho did Parasite, right? You know, great movie. He's done great things. I love a good sci-fi premise. Robert Pattinson's a great actor, but that doesn't mean it was a good movie at the end of the day. So I can't really give that a recommendation until maybe it's free. Don't go watch it in theaters. But anyway, it sounds like we're both excited for Doomsday, and we believe in the system over at Marvel. So knock on wood. To wrap it up, again, I'm a Mortal Kombat fan. This is like Mike has Ninja Turtles. I have Mortal Kombat. I didn't grow up with as much Ninja Turtles. I grew up with Mortal Kombat because like that was like the one, like we had a Sega Genesis, and you know what the one thing you can't do on a Sega Genesis is, Mike, compared to a Super Nintendo?
Tell me.
Save. You can't save. There's no save files on Sega. So whenever you load up your game on Sega for the first time, guess what? You have to start at the beginning unless you have like some secret codes written down. And the internet didn't exist back in the early 90s to get the codes. So me and my brother, we had a Sega 2 controllers in Mortal Kombat. And if we went over to our grandma's for like the summer or something like that, we'd take the Sega with us and get to play Mortal Kombat, despite her protest that it's a very violent game and we shouldn't be playing this. Fine. So I love Mortal Kombat. I even when I was like, and I think it was like in 5th grade, one of my birthday party was Mortal Kombat themed because the Mortal Kombat movies had come out on VHS to rent, so had those. And my biggest complaint about the Mortal Kombat movie that came out like 21, 22, that was like on Max streaming, is that there's no actual fucking Mortal Kombat tournament, Mike. There's no tournament. It's just people fighting each other before they get to the tournament, which is stupid. I don't want that. I want the actual tournament. And we have confirmation that this movie will have the actual Mortal Kombat tournament. And we have our first official images from the movie of Carl Urban as, did I put Luke Cage? Johnny Cage. No, it's Johnny Cage, another Cage. In this, we get to see Jax. We get to see Sonya Blade, Liu Kang behind him. We get to see more characters. The returning Hiroyuki Sanada as Scorpion. He's coming back in. I love his Scorpion attire. Martin Ford as Shao Kahn, and the cool thing about Shao Kahn in the games is that he's like a dragon species, so you get to see like his little dragon eyes in this. He's not just like a normal looking dude. You see his dragon skin. And then lastly, actress Adeline Rudolph as Katana. I would have thought she was just a cosplayer, if I'm going to be completely honest. The look on her face isn't selling me. But I'm very excited to see that, yes, they are leaning into the video game accurate costumes and character designs, and we actually get a Mortal Kombat tournament, Mike. Like, this is so hype for me because it's so low stakes. I don't care if it's bad because, like,
I'm trying to remember the plot from the first movie, to be honest.
So the first movie had that random dude, like, we don't know who he was. Like, it was
like a new character, right?
Yeah, it was someone who
could like punch, or what was his power?
He could fight, but then he like got that golden armor at the end for some reason that he was fighting with. But like, most of it was like the coolest part of that was like Sub-Zero versus Scorpion. Sub-Zero killed Scorpion's family. That guy was brought back, and they had to fight each other at the end. But like, And Goro, like the Louis Tan is the actor's name. He fought Goro, but like I don't think Louis Tan is in this one. I think they actually got rid of him. They went straight to the video game plot here.
Because I'm trying. There was like a point where they had to find this like temple or realm or something in like the desert.
Well, yeah.
And then when they got there, they had to fight people.
So the Nether Realm, like in Mortal Kombat, there's multiverses. They've had it forever. The Nether Realm is where like all the evil, like Baraka and Shao Kahn come from, like all the weird looking people. And the Earth Realm has to win the tournament, and if they lose 10 tournaments in a row, the Nether Realm can take over, invade Earth. That's why the tournament exists. But like as we talked about, when we saw the movie, when they kept showing Nether Realm, it's just a bunch of people walking through like a rock quarry. Like it wasn't even like really like a world. It was like, hey, we're just walking down this rocky path here because it sucks, kind of along the way. So, the first one's not very. It doesn't fill me. It doesn't do anything for me. But I'm very excited to revisit this without like all that weird original character content along the way. But yeah, check out those photos in our show notes. That movie comes out. I think it's like November. Come on, where's the sequel at? I'm on Wikipedia. We're trying to figure it out here because I want to give everyone release dates. I don't have it. I won't have it now. But anyway,
I mean, they're gonna hope people show up in theaters to see this, but unfortunately, this is the exact type of movie for me that I will wait until it's streaming to watch.
Yeah, it was like one of those. Was it 21 when HBO was like, we're putting all our big movies on streaming kind of thing?
Yeah, this is the future. And then they're like, oh, wait, how do we make money?
Yeah, it's pretty rough. I'm trying to figure out where the sequel is. It's not shown in here. But yeah, it's done enough streaming and sales to get the sequel. It's probably a low budget. I'm also guessing there's probably like a producer who's got like a real, real... who likes Mortal Kombat like I do, and like, yeah, I want to keep making movies like this, so they probably got away. October 24th, 2025. Now, I will tell you, this movie has to hit R-rated, Mike, because guess what we want to see? What do you want to see in Mortal Kombat more than anything else?
I want to see somebody's spine ripped out through their neck. Yeah. Unfortunately, it makes me sound like a psychopath, but that's kind of what we're expecting.
That's Mortal Kombat, though. That's what it is, right? It's the kills at the end. So hopefully they can.
It always like it makes me feel. I don't know how it makes me feel. I've also been trying to catch up on the latest season of Invincible, which also gets hyper violent, and there is just a caveman part of everyone's brain that just gets weirdly excited. Or maybe it's just me when you're just observing hyper violence. I'm okay with it when it's fake. Every once in a while you'll be scrolling through the internet and something makes it past a moderator and you're just like, I shouldn't have seen that. My eyes should not have witnessed this real life person getting crushed by a dumpster. Yeah. That is going to be scarred in my brain. But when it's fake, I'm okay with it.
Right. All the video game violence. Sign me up. All right, Mike, that's the show. That's what we got for this week. If people want to know what you're doing, what you're up to, where can they find you at?
They can find my webcomics at liferewardsrisk.com and pickledcomics.com. Chris, people want to catch up with you. Where can they find you?
Instagram, Valdan87, VALDAN, or Video Game Systems of the same name. People want to know more about the show, what we're doing, where we come back every week, or even look at that the upcoming release calendar that we referenced several times in this episode. We can get all them goodies.
Yeah, all you got to do is visit superheroslate.com. That is our cozy little home for everything that we do over here at Superhero Slate. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, wherever else you're listening to podcasts. Do podcasts even do this read anymore? I feel like at the early stages of podcasting, people had to shout out where they could find them. But I feel like now listeners just kind of know, like, you can just it's everywhere.
Yeah,
it's
just
kind of
Google
anywhere
us,
that a podcast.
Chat GPT us if you really would need to at the end of the day. Claude, we're probably on Claude even. I don't know. Ask them.
Yeah, we're probably behind that annoying Meta AI button that they keep putting closer and closer to the center of the screen every time I open up Instagram. Mm-hmm. I hate that thing. But we're out there. We got merch at superheroslate.com/store. We love hearing from you. Let us know what you're watching, what you're playing, what you're looking forward to. And if you want to be a super fan of the show, all you got to do is share the show with a friend. share the show with a buddy, and we'll be back next week, folks.
That's right. We'll see you then.